Here's what nobody wants to admit, but everyone knows is true. Every single person claiming to be a Wake Me Up in October Phillies fan is completely full of it. They're lying. To themselves, to their friends, to anyone who will listen. And you know what? It's time someone called them out on it. Look, we get it. After 3 consecutive postseason heartbreaks, after watching those bats go ice cold when it matters most, after enduring the emotional roller coaster that comes with being invested in this team for 7 straight months, some fans want to protect themselves. They want to build walls around their hearts, convince themselves they don't care about the regular season, pretend that only October matters. But here's the problem with that strategy. It's impossible to pull off when you're a real fan. And deep down, every single person reading this knows it. The morning show recently had Scott Bauer from the Philadelphia Inquirer on to discuss this exact phenomenon. And he dropped some serious truth bombs that apply not just to the players, but to all of us watching from the stands and our living rooms. Bauer made it crystal clear that everyone expects the Phillies to be back in October, and everyone knows that anything short of a World Series championship will feel like failure. That's the reality of where this franchise is right now. But here's where it gets interesting. Kyle Schwarber himself reinforced to Bauer that you have to find joy in the journey, that you have to enjoy the ride, because baseball is a marathon, not a sprint. Think about what Schwarber is saying here. This is a guy who gets paid millions of dollars to play baseball, who has World Series aspirations, who understands the pressure and expectations better than any of us ever will. And even he recognizes that you can't just fast forward through 6 months of baseball. You can't press skip on 162 games and magically arrive at the playoffs. Not every team makes the postseason, even though it's easier now than it used to be. Winning your division remains the hardest thing to do in this sport precisely because of how grueling and long the season is. If the players themselves have to consciously remind themselves to find joy in those 162 games, what makes fans think they can just tune out until October? Bauer noticed this more than ever last year with the Phillies. There was this sense that the team had to actively tell themselves to enjoy the moments along the way, to not get so fixated on the end goal that they missed everything that happens in between. When Bauer asked players how they make sure they enjoy the ride, they admitted they have to step back and think about it themselves. These are professionals who do this for a living, and even they struggle with staying present during the regular season grind. So if the players have to enjoy the ride, then the fans absolutely have to as well. You cannot look at a baseball season this long, a season that literally starts next Thursday and runs through October, hopefully deep into October, and tell yourself with a straight face that you're not going to care for 7 months. 7 months! That's longer than most New Year's resolutions last. That's longer than most people stay committed to anything. And you're trying to convince everyone that you're just going to emotionally check out for that entire stretch? The text messages and calls flooding in tell a different story. Take Mike, for example. Mike says he's a Wake Me Up in October guy, but of course he's going to watch because the games are on literally every night. He thinks it's possible to watch and enjoy without meaning you're all in. He compares it to Sixers syndrome, claiming that April through September doesn't matter, but you can still enjoy the games. Here's the problem with Mike's logic. It's contradictory nonsense. How are you supposed to watch something every single night and not the bottom of the 9th inning? The lights drop in Citizens Bank Park. The music hits, and Jose Alvarado comes running out to the mound to close out a game. Are you really going to sit there without emotion, telling yourself this game doesn't matter, that you don't care about Alvarado or this moment? Come on, be honest with yourselves. All of you are going to be just as fired up come next Thursday when this season kicks off. So let's talk about the things you should actually be excited about, because there are plenty of them, and pretending they don't matter is just robbing yourself of the joy of being a fan. First up, Jose Alvarado as your closer for a full season. Think about that for a second. You're not starting the year with question marks in the 9th inning. You're not wondering if Jordan Romano is going to figure things out. You have a legitimate, proven closer who will be there from day one. Sure, he wasn't perfect after the trade last year, but let's be real here. We were all spoiled by Brad Lidge in 2008. That doesn't happen. You don't get a perfect closer who never blows a save. But Alvarado is as close as you're going to get in today's game, and having him for a full season anchoring the back end of this bullpen should absolutely get you excited. This bullpen will be improved across the board with some of the other moves the front office has made, but on the back end, the guy coming in to close out your games is legit. That alone should have you counting down the days until opening day. But let's keep going, because the excitement doesn't stop there. How could you not be fired up about your new center fielder, Justin Crawford? Everything we've been told about this kid over the last couple years in the minors, everything we're seeing in spring training, points to a potential game changer. You see the speed. You see what happens when he gets on base. His ability to steal bases is electric, and the Phillies are going to bat him in the 9-hole, which means you essentially get a double leadoff hitter if he can get on base consistently. Crawford had a very good on-base percentage in the minors, Obviously, that doesn't always translate to the big leagues, but if he's able to maintain even a decent OBP and use that world-class speed, think about the pressure he puts on opposing teams. If Crawford gets on base and steals second, now Trey Turner is coming up. And Turner was the National League batting champion last year, so you know he's going to get a hit. Then Bryce Harper comes to the plate with either one runner on or two runners on, and you've got Kyle Schwarber batting behind him. Pitchers can't pitch around Harper to get to Schwarber when there are guys on base. The dynamic of this lineup completely changes with Crawford at the bottom, and that should have every fan salivating at the possibilities. Speaking of rookies, let's talk about another one that should have you marking your calendar. Andrew Painter. The guy everyone has been waiting patiently to see. The guy we thought we'd get last year before he struggled coming back from Tommy John surgery. Well, Painter has done everything the team wanted him to do this spring. He looks good. Really good. He's slated to start his first game for the Phillies in probably Game 4 or Game 5 of the season, and anyone claiming they're not excited to see him because they're a wake me up in October person is lying through their teeth. Andrew Painter wasn't even here last year. This isn't some retread we've seen a million times. This is a genuine unknown, a top prospect who could be special, taking the mound in a Phillies uniform for the first time. When Painter goes 7 strong innings and looks like an absolute stud in his debut, are you really going to sit there stone-faced saying it doesn't matter because it's not October? No chance. You're lying to yourself if you think you won't be losing your mind watching this kid pitch. And if Painter is good, if he lives up to the hype, let's talk about what that means for the entire starting rotation. This could be special, folks. Jason Stark told us that people within the Phillies organization see the upside of this rotation matching the legendary 2011 group. That's not hyperbole. That's not fan fantasy. That's people who know baseball saying this rotation has that kind of potential. Now, that doesn't mean it will definitely happen, but the fact that it could should have you excited to watch every 5th day when these guys take the mound. Christopher Sanchez is a legitimate Cy Young candidate after what he did last year. Jesus Luzardo has been absolutely dealing this spring, with the Minnesota Twins manager saying he has the best stuff they've seen yet this year. Zach Wheeler has hit every single benchmark the team set for him coming back from the blood clot issue last year, and if everything continues on track, knock on wood, he'll be back sooner rather than later looking like vintage Wheeler. Aaron Nola is primed for a bounce-back season, and he looked phenomenal pitching for Team Italy in the World Baseball Classic. And then you add Andrew Painter to that mix, and you've got 5 starting pitchers who could absolutely dominate. And you're going to tell me you don't care? That you're just going to wait until October to start paying attention? Come on. You need to get fired up about this rotation, because if they're even close to as good as they could be, you're watching something special. But wait, there's more! Let's not forget about the lineup itself, because even though everyone wanted to see the front office do more to shake things up offensively, you can't sit here and tell me this team isn't capable of winning a World Series. They're absolutely capable. There are ifs involved, sure, but all championship teams have ifs. If the starting rotation is as good as we think it could be, if the lineup performs up to its potential, if the pieces fall into place the way they can, this team can go all the way. We've already talked about Justin Crawford and what he brings to the bottom of the order. Let's talk about Edmundo Sosa. This show has been pounding the table about Sosa's potential all spring. What if Bryce Harper has the monster season everyone is anticipating? A few weeks ago, the advice was to bet all the overs on Harper's stat lines, and that still feels like solid advice. If Harper goes nuclear, if Sosa is closer to the player he was in 2023 rather than the last 2 seasons, if Crawford provides that spark at the bottom, and you still have Turner and Schwarber doing what they do, plus Alec Boehm potentially having a breakout year like people are predicting, this lineup suddenly looks a lot deeper than it did last season. The bullpen should also be significantly better. We've talked about Alvarado as the closer, but the additions and improvements throughout the pen mean this could genuinely be one of the best bullpens in the majors. Combine an elite bullpen with a starting rotation that has legitimate top-of-the-league potential, and a lineup that's deeper and more dynamic than last year, and you've got all the ingredients for something special. So why would you temper your expectations? Why would you emotionally distance yourself from this team before they've even played a single meaningful game? One anonymous texter said they're excited for the season, but tempering expectations more this year than in the past couple years because we've seen the same thing the last 3 regular and postseasons, which makes them have a cynical outlook on what's to come. Here's the thing. Being a fan means being a fanatic. It means allowing yourself to believe, to hope, to get emotionally invested even when you know it might end in heartbreak. Yes, you should be realistic. Yes, you should acknowledge the possibility of disappointment. But actively trying to not care as some kind of self-protection mechanism, that's just choosing to rob yourself of the joy that comes with being a fan. Some people will point to hypocrisy here. After all, the same voices telling Phillies fans to stay engaged are the ones who said the Sixers should shut things down because there's no realistic path forward. But here's the difference. The Sixers genuinely can't do anything this year. We've seen enough to know their ceiling. But this Phillies team, look at how they're constructed. Look at the talent. Look at the potential. You cannot honestly say they're not capable of winning at all.
There are concerns, sure. Some people are worried about Andrew Painter, pointing out that he hasn't gone past 4 innings this spring, that he hasn't faced a single lineup more than once, that the one time he did, he got rocked and didn't get out of that inning, and that in his last outing, he only faced 13 batters. But here's what those critics are missing. Spring training isn't about the results. It's about the process and the stuff.
With Painter, you have to look at what your eyes are telling you, not what the box score says. Painter is doing everything the team has wanted him to do. They're not going to make him pitch 7 or 8 innings in a spring training game. That's not the point. He's pitched 4 innings in his outings and he's looked good. His pitches look sharp. His velocity was never an issue coming back from surgery. The concern was location, and by all accounts, his location is back. To say he's had a bad spring is simply not fair when you understand what the team is actually evaluating. This is what makes the "wake me up in October" stance so frustrating. People are actively looking for reasons to not get excited, to not invest emotionally, to protect themselves from potential disappointment. But in doing so, they're missing out on all the reasons to be thrilled about this team right now, today, before they've even played a single game that counts.
The reality is that baseball is about the journey as much as the destination. Yes, the ultimate goal is winning a World Series. Yes, anything short of that will feel like disappointment given where this franchise is and what they're capable of. But you can't skip the 162 games it takes to get there. You can't fast forward through the moments that make baseball special. The walk-off wins, the dominant pitching performances, the incredible defensive plays, the rookie making his debut, the veteran having a resurgence, the unexpected hero emerging in a big spot. If you try to emotionally check out until October, you're going to miss Justin Crawford's first stolen base. You're going to miss Andrew Painter's first strikeout. You're going to miss the game where Sanchez goes 8 shutout innings. You're going to miss Wheeler's return. You're going to miss all the moments that remind you why you fell in love with this team and this sport in the first place. And here's the thing everyone needs to understand. You're going to watch anyway.
Even Mike, who insists he's a "wake me up in October" guy, admits he's going to watch because the games are on every night. So if you're going to watch, if you're going to spend your evenings and weekends following this team for 6 months, why not actually let yourself enjoy it? Why not lean into the excitement and the hope instead of trying to maintain some artificial emotional distance that's impossible to sustain anyway? The bottom of the 9th inning scenario painted earlier isn't hypothetical. It's going to happen dozens of times this season. The lights are going to drop, the music is going to hit, your closer is going to jog to the mound with the game on the line. And in that moment, every single person reading this is going to care. You're going to be nervous, you're going to be hopeful, you're going to be fully invested in the outcome. Because that's what being a fan is.
So stop lying to yourselves and everyone else. Stop pretending you're going to stay emotionally detached for 7 months. Stop using "wake me up in October" as some kind of shield against potential disappointment. This Phillies team has given you every reason to be excited, every reason to believe this could finally be the year, every reason to embrace the journey from opening day through deep into October. You're going to watch Justin Crawford fly around the bases. You're going to watch Andrew Painter take the mound for the first time. You're going to watch this rotation try to live up to its potential. You're going to watch Bryce Harper chase MVP numbers. You're going to watch every dramatic moment, every crucial at-bat, every tense pitching performance. And you're going to care about all of it. So embrace it. Get excited. Let yourself believe. Stop trying to protect your heart and just be a fan. Because next Thursday, when this season starts, nobody is actually going to be asleep. Everyone is going to be watching, hoping, believing that this could be the year. And those 7 months between now and October, they're going to matter. Every single game, every single moment, every single memory you make along the way. The "wake me up in October" crowd doesn't actually exist. It's just people lying to themselves because they're scared of getting hurt again. But you know what? Getting hurt is part of being a fan. So is the joy, the excitement, the anticipation, and yes, the hope. Don't rob yourself of any of that. Now get out there and get ready for opening day. This is going to be a ride worth taking from start to finish. And if you're honest with yourself, you know you're going to be wide awake for every minute of it. What do you think? Are you ready to admit you're excited? Or are you still trying to convince yourself you don't care until October? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.